Design Compare is an application which compares two databases and identifies the differences between them. This is useful when tracking changes in the product lifecycle. The application provides two different modes. In Standard Compare mode, application extracts data and writes differences to an HTML report. Information applies to modification of cross-section, netlist and connectivity, pin connectivity, property changes, test point modifications, placement modifications, and so forth. Alternatively, the application lets you also compare two databases on a graphical basis. Based on IPC 2581, all or individual layers can be compared. Differences will be highlighted. If necessary, DRC markers can be generated. Let's start with Standard Compare. After selecting the designs to be compared, first, second, we start the process. Once finished, an HTML report appears. Collapse expand functionality facilitates the navigation within the report. Let's begin with stack-up modifications. The stack-up for each design will be reported first, and any changes are tracked and reported in layer attribute changes. For example, the thickness between layer 2 and layer 3 has been changed from 0.3 mm to 0.25 mm. How net data has changed. This is a summary for both designs. Number of nets 19, nets with no test, for example, 0. Number of connections. Connection details net-based. Connection details pin-based. For example, component pin Q1 pin 2 was disconnected in version V1 and is now connected to NetGND in version V2. Information about via count. NetGND, number of vias has increased from 22 to 27. Information about edge lengths. Let's continue with components. So component designators C21 and C5 placement has changed. Furthermore, two new fiducials have been added. Let's continue with Graphical Compare. Application will export IPC 2581 data from each database and import film layers on manufacturing subclasses first. Options are available to limit amount of data to be processed. We use default settings, which include films for all edge, solder mask and paste mask layers. Once finished, we simply select all records and start compare process. Let's change some colors before visualizing the differences. Let's begin with layer top. There are 33 differences. There are two ways to visualize the differences. We select RMB limit V1 V2 diff, where V1 and V2 show original design data and diff is showing the result of the Boolean XOR operation. Version 1, version 2, differences. Layers can be turned on and turned off individually. In the second mode, RMB limit view V1R, V2R and COM, the application allows you to distinguish between data that is common to both designs and information that only applies to each design explicitly. So, common data which is identical between design 1 and design 2 is shown on COM layer. V1R is showing only the remaining part changes for version V1, version V2. This mode is probably more convenient when it comes to printing, plotting the results into PDF documentation. We continue with solder mask top. choose the second mode. And finally, we want to check the differences on the paste mask.